What does it say about the Browns and Kevin Stefanski that he had no idea that his backup quarterback was traded to the Bengals?
I'm surprised he said it out loud because I feel like so much of what happens in Cleveland, they understand that in order to hold these jobs, they are at the whims of whatever the owner decides to do. And I think the owner has created a structure. Now, this is just my opinion. I think he's created a structure where it looks like there's a plan. It looks like there's a program. It looks like there's a formula for everything. But at the end of the day, it's just what the owner wants. And I think everyone's in tune with figuring out what the owner wants. And when the owner wants something, it happens. So it doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me they traded him. I mean, they benched him. They saved some money. They upgrade a draft pick, and they move on from a guy that no longer fit into their plan. So they got something out of him. They have to be happy with this.
All right, given all the coverage with Belichick with North Carolina, what's your number one question about this situation today?
How much money changes hands and in which direction does it go when it finally ends? I feel like that's where this is headed. And those companion statements that came out at 9:36 p.m. Eastern last night, like if you hadn't been paying attention to all the reports that are out there and you just happen to open your Twitter and you're a North Carolina fan and you see that the next post since the one about Drake May that they were shamed into making on Monday is this statement that Bill Belichick's committed to the team, and then the statement from Bubba Cunningham, the AD, the team is committed to him. It's like, why are we doing this? It just legitimizes that there's this avalanche right now of reporting that they've made no effort to push back against, of dysfunction and deterioration and just flat out disintegration of the program. And I feel like that this is just the idea of, if I'm going to go, you're going to pay me to go. And from the team's perspective, if you're going to go, we're not going to pay you, and maybe you're going to pay part of your $1 million price tag to get out of here. And it feels like they're staking out what the end game and the dissolution of this is going to be.
How damaged is his NFL reputation?
I don't think it affects anything he's done in the NFL. I think...
But future employment.
Oh, well, let me just add this caveat in advance. We know that there are plenty of teams in the NFL that don't know what the hell they're doing. And it all comes from the owner. Dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things, as our friend Big Cat says. And I can't rule out an owner of a team that is chronically bad and they've got a revolving door at the coaching position saying, what the hell? Nothing else we've tried has worked. Let's give it a shot. But here's the problem. How do you sell this Bill Belichick to a fan base and to the media that cover the team? Who's going to renew season tickets when they find out that this Bill Belichick is coming in to take over? I think that's the hardest thing. From a football standpoint, what the hell? Maybe he can recapture some magic. From a business standpoint, I don't know how you help your bottom line by trotting out Bill Belichick post North Carolina.
But could you see a scenario where the Dolphins bring him in if they fire Mike McDaniel, even though he would be trying to pass Don Shula's record in the all-time victory list while being a Dolphins coach in the process?
I think that's a practical impediment to getting the fans to buy in. That's the key. These guys, they act like they're obsessed with winning the Super Bowl. All we want to do is win the Super Bowl. We want to win the Super Bowl. Well, you know what? Only one team wins it, but they all win at the bank vault. And if you are going to make a hire that sabotages your ability to fill your stadium, you're just asking for red ink in a business where there should be none. So I think that is the one factor that we need to keep in mind here. He will be received very differently wherever he would go next in the NFL than he would have been 2 years ago. Now, I won't rule out that there's some owner that's going to decide, I don't care, this is what I want to do, but I don't know who it would be, and I think that whole Don Shula, Bill Belichick feud would be a factor against him going to Miami.
But it feels like Mike McDaniel's already done in Miami, doesn't it?
I agree with you. But that doesn't mean the replacement's going to be Bill Belichick. They need to find a middle ground between the Brian Flores Belichick type that couldn't get along with Tua Tagovailoa and was kind of a hard-charging taskmaster, and Mike McDaniel, who's everybody's buddy, and he's just really chill, and he's authentic. Authentic works until you're piling up losses, and you see this guy who seems to be unaffected by the fact that they're piling up losses. So they need to find someone in the middle. But this is what dysfunctional teams do. It doesn't work out with one coach. So the next guy we hire is the exact opposite from a personality standpoint. And they just swing back and forth between those two types.
$250,000 for flipping somebody off for Jerry Jones. I'm always curious if the commissioner has a book, like he just goes over, opens his desk and goes, let me see, got that, flipping off fans, 250. Like, how did they come up with $250,000 for Jerry Jones?
Well, 16 years ago, Bud Adams, the late founder of the Oilers, who were then the Titans, he got fined $250,000 for two of them. So I don't know if it's inflation, cost of living increase, but Dan, here's my big takeaway. Beyond the fact that Jerry had the ridiculous, I meant to give a thumbs up, and my hand has a life of its own, a mind of its own, and I gave the finger. But I think Jerry should say, you know what, next time I'll just throw a drink on them, because that only cost $300,000 when David Tepper did it. That's a bargain in comparison. If I'm really upset, I'll just throw the drink and pay the extra $50,000.
Dang. $250K. And then did the team, Jonathan Gannon got fined, did the team do it or the NFL?
The team did it, and the NFL was satisfied by it. And, a lot of times what happens is they don't come out and admit it. The league makes it clear to the team, you need to do something about this or we will. And I think it was appropriate. He crossed the line. We're in an age where you can't put hands on your players, and he made contact with Emari Demercado multiple times, including kind of an aggressive slap to the arm as he walked away. So I think it was appropriate. The real question is, does the locker room accept his apology? Do they buy it? Did it seem sincere, or was it a hostage video type of an apology that he had to make? And we'll see as soon as this weekend when it's time for them to play. We'll see what kind of performance he gets from his players.
So Jerry Jones's middle finger is 2.5 times worse than Jonathan Gannon's action, correct?
Well, again, I don't know where the book is that tells them what to do. And we always hear that owners are held to a higher standard than players. And sometimes they are. Jerry Jeudy of the Browns did the double-barreled middle finger to Ravens fans, and his fine was somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for that. So in this situation, they hold the owners to a higher standard. So I don't know. I just wonder, if Jonathan Gannon had messed with the wrong guy and we would have had a Latrell Sprewell situation on the sideline. I mean, that's the problem. There are certain guys in the NFL who aren't going to take what Emari Demercado received from Jonathan Gannon. So I think it's probably wise for coaches to not lay hands on these gladiators who are out there hitting people for a living.
Talking to Mike Florio and his novel Big Shield. It's about gambling, the mob, and a pro football league that is not the NFL. The ebook available at Amazon for only 99 cents. The Mac Jones situation, now it's not surprising for me because Kyle Shanahan did like him going into that draft, and then you get him. Even though they don't have weapons, he's played really well. I don't want to go as far as to say, do they have a quarterback controversy? But if Mac Jones plays great again, I think 6 touchdowns and 1 interception, could this be a quarterback controversy?
Here's the big picture, and the 49ers were very wise, Dan, to sign Mac Jones, not to a 1-year deal like they did with Sam Darnold, 2 years with Mac Jones at around $8 million. The way that the Brock Purdy contract that was negotiated in the offseason is structured, 2 years is what Purdy is guaranteed. And the 49ers have, and they build this into all their contracts. A lot of teams, the next year becomes guaranteed right after the league year begins in the middle of March. The 49ers always demand until April 1 to make a decision. So they have until April 1 of 2027 to make a decision about Brock Purdy after the 26th season. Well, there's a lot of football to be played between now and the end of the 2026 season. By then, a lot of times you think you have a problem, you have an issue, what are we going to do? The decision reveals itself in time. By the time we get to the end of the 2026 season, I think we'll know and they'll know which of the two guys is the long-term play. And they'll have a seamless way, if they want to do it, to pivot to Mac Jones and get away from the remainder of Brock Purdy's contract. That's the key. So for now, they got both guys for the next 2 years. And then they'll make a decision. And, it'll be driven by health, between now and then. They can always play the 100% card where Brock Purdy plays only if he's 100%. Well, is he 100%? No, I've decided he's not. We're going to play Mac Jones. But hey, in a league where plenty of teams don't have one quarterback who can get it done, they're fortunate to have two. And I know they've had plenty of misadventures at the quarterback position, but they're in a good spot right now because they got two guys who can play. And I think we see how it plays out between now and week 18 in 2026. And I think by then they'll know and will know which of the two guys is the answer for the long haul.
Is John Harbaugh safe in Baltimore?
Probably not. And it's been a long relationship. And, he falls into that category of guy who would get fired if he gets fired, or if he would resign, or if it would be a mutual parting. And he'd probably land somewhere else right away if he wanted to, like Andy Reid did, like Mike Tomlin would. There's that 30% chunk of the Steelers fan base that is ready to fire Mike Tomlin anytime they lose 2 games in a row. There have been times over the years where it's felt like it's coming to an end between the Ravens and Harbaugh, and it's always skewed toward him staying. This has got to be the biggest test of the relationship between the front office and Harbaugh that we've ever seen. As the roster disintegrates, the team can't win. They got embarrassed at home by the Texans over the weekend, a team that had never won in Baltimore went in there and blew them out. So there's going to be a lot of pressure in that owner-coach relationship with the GM kind of caught in the middle. What's going to happen after this season? So I think there's a very real chance, based on what we've seen through 5 weeks, that a mutual parting is what happens when the season ends.
Because it seems like we focused on Mike Tomlin's tenure in Pittsburgh, and here they are just kind of quiet. Now, they can't control what the other teams do or don't do and the injuries, but I thought this might be the last year for Tomlin in Pittsburgh, and maybe Aaron Rodgers. Like they were all in together for this 1 year, and then Aaron would go on his way, and Mike Tomlin would go into TV. But here they are leading the division, and we have no other reason to think that they won't be there at the very end of the season.
The last 2 weeks have been incredible for the Steelers. They beat the Vikings in Ireland, and the rest of the division has gone a combined 0-6. So here they are, and the Bengals, they're done. The Ravens seem to be done. And this is just a reminder. And look, I don't want to complain about the business that we've chosen, but we spend the offseason talking about how the next season's going to go with this assumption that everyone's going to stay healthy. We know guys are going to get injured. It's bad form to say, well, this guy could get injured, that guy could get injured, but we know it's going to happen. 5 weeks to the day since the regular season began, the Ravens and the Bengals have been decimated. For the Bengals, all it took was one guy. For the Ravens, it's a bunch of guys, but it changes everything. And here are the Steelers at 3-1, and they're sitting pretty, and it's working. They finally had a game where both the offense and the defense showed up at the same time, and they got that win. They stole one from the Patriots. They shouldn't have won, but here they are. And, yeah, that's, as a wise man once said, that's where they play the games. And that's part of the fun of it, because right now, Dan, who's the best team in the AFC? I really don't know the answer to that question.
Is there a chance that Deshaun Watson plays again?
Well, for the Browns this year, probably not. There's a subtext where he's trying to get healthy, and at some point he shows up with a doctor's slip saying this man is cleared to play football, and the Browns have to make a decision. They're not going to cut him because that would trigger a $135 million dead cap charge next year. They're trying to ride out this contract because they've structured it so the bigger cap hits come later when the cap is higher. But the other thing to keep in mind, there's an insurance policy that covers him for this year. If he plays, that insurance policy becomes jeopardized. I don't know how much they would lose by way of the money they get for the insurance they had against injury. It gets a little complicated. I think they'd like to finesse it so he's on the team and he's around, but he's not on the roster. And we'll see if it comes to that. But there's other business issues that go into this calculation. But at this point, I don't think there's any Browns fan that is curious to see what Deshaun Watson can do on the football field. They're ready to move on from him, but the reality is he's most likely going to be on the team through 2026.
Have you ever done a list of the worst decisions made in NFL history? Like if I said the Browns moved on from Baker Mayfield and now he's an MVP candidate in Tampa, and then you go all in and sign Deshaun Watson. Has there been a decision that has been worse than that in NFL history?
No. And I've said before, without the Baker Mayfield angle, The Deshaun Watson contract and trade is the single worst transaction in NFL history because it's the combination of, and we get caught up in the money, $230 million fully guaranteed. It's easy to lose sight of the 3 first-round picks and multiple other picks that were sent to Houston. Those are affordable young players who become the nucleus of your team if you use the picks right. They've lost all those guys. And so the fact that they're even able to win a game, the fact that they went to the playoffs 2 years ago is remarkable given what they gave up to get Deshaun Watson. So they gave up a lot. They've paid him a lot. They've got nothing in return. Yes, I believe firmly that if there was a list, I don't know what number 2 would be, but number 1 would be the Deshaun Watson acquisition by the Browns.
But what about the Herschel Walker trade?
That would be that's probably number 2.
Okay.
That's probably number 2. Probably number 2.
Ricky Williams with the Saints. Is that up? They gave up all their draft picks, and Mike Ditka wanted to go play golf, and so take Ricky
that's in there.
Go.
That's in there. Now, back in those days, again, the draft picks made a lot more money relative to what they make now. The important thing to remember now, since 2011, they have configured the rookie pay system so that those guys are cheap, and you have them for 4 years. If it's a first-round pick, you have them for 5 years, and that's how you manage a team where you pay a few guys market value. The guts of your team are these young guys that you have gotten for peanuts in comparison to what it costs to get a veteran.